This video is brought to you by Miniature Market. Thousands of board games, discounted prices, miniaturemarket.com.
Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today it's all about dropping that dice, and you're going to be holding them secretly and trying to lie to other people as to how many dice of certain kinds do you think are out there. Today we're looking at the 30th anniversary edition of Liar's Dice. I remember playing this game as a kid. This is for 2 to 6 players. This is from Mr. B Games. Let's check out this new version and I'll see you on the other side. This 30th anniversary edition comes with enough for 6 cups and 5 dice per player to be able to play the game, so it plays up to 6 players. You're trying to be the last person standing at the end of the game. At the beginning of each round, every player will take all the dice that they have, and they will shake them up, they'll put them down, they will secretly look at them, but they won't show anybody else, and you can look at your dice as often as you'd like. Now, starting with the oldest player in the first round of the game, they're going to bid, and what they can bid is how many numbers or how many stars there are. See, because each die has a star and a 2 through 6. Essentially, there's no 1, there's a star instead. A star is considered a wild and can be any number. So the first player might say, I think between all the dice of everybody on the table, I think there's at least 3 5s. And so the next player has 2 choices. They can either up the bid or they can challenge. If they up the bid, they can stay on the same spot, but the number has to be greater. In this case, they could say, well, I think there's 3 6s. But if this was already a 6 from the last player, they can't say 3 stars and turn it. They'd have to go further up. But let's say it was at 5 and they said, well, I'm going to go with 3 6s. Then it goes to the next player. The next player might say, you know what? I think there's 4 4s. As long as you move up, you can put any number on the die. If you stay on the same number, you have to up the die. Let's say the next player goes, you know what? I don't believe that. I think there's 2 stars. On these spots, you have to place a star. On any open spot, you can place any number. Now remember, a star is just 1 out of every 6, but a 4 could be a 4 or a star. So it's basically you have twice as much chance of getting a number versus a star, which is why the numbers go up. So let's say it comes down to this, and the next player goes, I challenge. I don't think there's 2 stars. Well, the player that challenged will now have everybody lift up all of their cups and show everybody all the dice. So let's say there were only 3 players playing in this game. Everybody opened up all the dice. It's the first round, so everybody has 5 dice. The bid was 2 stars. This player got challenged. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 stars. So because the person that challenged was wrong, because there's at least 2 stars, the challenger lost, and they're going to have to lose 1 die for every one they were off. Since the person who was right said that there were 2 stars, there's actually 4. This player here, the one that actually challenged, would lose 2 of their dice, and they'd place it basically out on the board. So this player has less dice and less information than everybody else. If, per se, there weren't 4 stars, let's just say there weren't 2 stars, or there was only 1. Well, the challenger would have won, and then the player who had made this bet would have lost the difference. They said there were 2, there's only 1, so let's say this player would have lost 1. If there was exactly the right amount, 2 stars, 2 stars, everybody except the person who made the bet will lose 1. So let's say this player was the one that said, hey, I think there's 2 stars, this player challenged. Well, everybody else in the game would lose 1 die. Now, whoever wins the bid gets to start a brand new bid. Everybody will place all the dice they have back in their cups. They shake them, they put them down so that nobody can see them again, because these would all get re-rolled. And then the player who won the last bid will be the first to bid anywhere on the entire board. This continues until there's only 1 person left with dice, and that player wins the game. Now, there's a couple extra rules. You cannot never lose your last die to an equal bid, meaning usually everyone else loses 1 die. You can't lose your last one. Also, there's a rule where you can do a show and re-roll. Let's say someone had bid, hey, 4 4s, and this player can secretly put, let's say they'd put 2 out there, then they would re-roll everything else, and they would roll this. So now everyone can see that there's 2 out there, there's bid 4, and this player just re-rolled. What the heck did they roll? It just messes everybody over. That's an optional rule to play with. All right, well, there is Liar's Dice 30th Anniversary Edition. Now, I played this game a ton as a kid. I can even remember Yes, like it was yesterday, we were out camping during the summertime, playing Liar's Dice every night with the whole family. This one had the yellow dice with the green. The one I used to play with was the yellow dice with the purple. And so I just love it. This is such an awesome party game for many reasons. Number one, it's very accessible. So pretty much anybody can play this game. It's so easy. You're just rolling your dice, making a bid, and you're either challenging or, making a bid on your own after that. The mechanics are so simple. You can teach this game literally as you're playing the first round, and you'll be up and running in just a few seconds. So it is a great party game. It plays better with more players. It's very engaging. You'll see lots of people, jumping up and down. You'll hear lots of explosions as people open up the dice. It'll cause a ruckus. People will come over and see what you're watching. It's definitely a good icebreaker game. It definitely has a lot of engagement, so I love it because of that. There's something about those cups and the sound of because everyone's shaking the dice. Boom! And there's just something about that. I know that sounds weird, but it makes the game so much fun because everyone looks at each other, shaking the dice, making all these noise and slamming it on the table. It just adds to the fun of the game. Now this is, it's a poker and bluffing style game. So if you like this style of game, hey, this is going to be something you're going to love. Even if you don't like poker, you don't like to play it as much, this isn't nearly as thinky and it's really not as cutthroat as, let's say, Texas Hold'em All-In poker. But it does have that aspect to it. This version, I really like that it has 6 players. Some of the versions of this that have come out since, sometimes it was called Perudo, many other names it's been under, but I remember even one edition I had bought, it was only played up to 4 players, and this game really excels. The more players, the better, really. So the fact that this one plays up to 6, one of the older versions I had only had 4 players, and I actually just got 2 plastic cups and bought 10 dice of normal dice and just said, hey, I won as a star back in the day because we wanted to play with up to 6. It plays great up to 6. This one plays up to 6 in the box, and that is a huge thing here. I'm glad they didn't miss the ball on this one because they've done that in the past when different publishers had done this. So I'm glad Mr. V Games made it for 6 players. So what about any negatives? Well, as I mentioned a little before, if you don't like bluffing, if you don't like lying at all, then this probably is not going to be something that you're going to love, but you might still want to try this one because you might find it just so engaging and fun watching everybody else have fun that you might end up getting it. The other negative is this game has player elimination. I mean, when you're out of your dice, you're out. You're done with the game. Go ahead, go get yourself a drink or do something and come back. And some people are not going to like that. However, I've typically found that usually you're not out more than 10 minutes. And this is one of those games you'll probably play more than once because it is that fun and quick. But you're not out for more than 10 minutes. And sure, there is player elimination. That isn't negative. People don't like that. But I don't think it's a deal breaker because, again, you're not sitting out that long. Usually people are getting eliminated around the same time. And it is one of those fun games to come back and watch the showdown when it gets down to 2 players and see what happens. It is very luck heavy. You're rolling dice and what you get is what you get. Now, you can't play with that optional rule where you pull the dice out to show and you roll dice and try to get something better, but it is very lucky and it's more about the bluffing and trying to calculate whatever people might have. And the other negative is it says it plays 2 to 6 players. I wouldn't ever really play it with 2 players. It really should say 3 to 6. You can play it, but it doesn't really play 2 to 6 players. So I'd say you at least need 3 players to play it. So this, if you're a 2-player person, this isn't the best game for you. This is more of a party game. But overall, I love it. And it's a staple in my household for the longest time. And so for that reason, this is staying in my house. So let's give it a saxophone serenade.
This video was sponsored by Miniature Market's Review Corner. The Review Corner features podcasts, video, and written game reviews by gamers for gamers. Miniature Market, the online gaming superstore. Thousands of board games, discounted prices. Check them out at miniaturemarket.com. I'd like to thank each and every one of you for backing me on Kickstarter and making this season become a reality. I'd like to especially thank those here that have backed me at the credit level. Now, these video reviews are also available by audio on our podcast. It's the intros and the final thoughts on GameBoyGeek.com. Click podcast.